So now that I've got all this reassembled, now I have to fit my ribbon cable back in. You have two that actually plug into the print head down below, and then you have one that plugs into the back of the print head carriage. This is actually a data for making the carriage go back and forth and reading the encoder strip, so it is very important to get this in correctly. There is a slot located on the back onto a little circuit board right here on the back of the print head carriage. What you'll have to do is take some like angled tweezers, or just some tweezers in general, grab a hold of it, and basically guide it into position, and then use the back side of the tweezers to push it into position. This is kind of a pain. Once I have that back there, I pull the ribbon cable back so that way I can guide it into its little home. I have it guided into the correct position. I'll use the back side of my tweezers to lightly push it in. I don't want to cram it, but it does need to make connection. And if you need to, and if it's not lined up correctly, pull it back out and start over. That's pretty much the hardest part right there. And just so y'all can see it, I'll zoom into the area. And let you see it a little bit closer. Fits in the groove right back there. Alright. So now that we have that the back ribbon cable plugged into the carriage, now I can put the head back in. Pretty simple. You have two ribbon cables. Make sure that the print head, the nozzles will be towards the back, and you have the little lip or the sticker facing towards the front of the machine. You'll plug in the long, flat ribbon cable first, and that goes into the top slot. Do not force it in. It should slide in decently smooth. Same thing with the bottom. Then I can place the print head down in there. Okay, you may also notice that I don't have these little posts sticking up right here. What I did was actually take needle nose pliers and break those posts off, so that way my dampers sit flat instead of tilted. Helps out. That's a little tech trick. Alright. So I'll make sure the ribbon cables are all guided into the correct position. Alright. Now I'll grab my head retainer bar. The way to put this back in, this little post will be facing down. And then you will basically catty corner it in from the left, goes into its little hole, and then back to the right, and it fits into position. Now the little spring on the left hand side of the carriage, you'll need to engage that so that way it pushes the retainer bar towards the back of the machine. And I'll grab those two little root screws I was telling you about. Be really careful not to over tighten them. Magnetic screwdriver really helps for this, so that way I can just go down here and put them in. I always put pressure on the head so that way it pushes towards the back of the machine to make sure it keeps level and flat. Being really careful not to over tighten these screws because you don't want them to strip out. The next piece I'll put back on is the ribbon cable guide. Pull the ribbon cables above this little flat area on the back side of the print head carriage so they fit kind of on top of it. Ribbon cables basically guide through, twist around, and go down. To put this back on, there are 3 tabs up at the top. The ribbon cable kind of tucks up underneath there. So I'll just basically kind of tilt it backwards. Make sure the ribbon cables are in their little guides there. And I'll wiggle the print head down over top of its post. Okay, making sure that the ribbon cable does not get bunched up or does not basically peek out from underneath the guides over here. I'll just wiggle this down until it clicks into place. Nice little wiggle there. And there's nothing bunched up, nothing sliding against the metal or anything like that. So we're good to go. Then I'll put my little copper springs back in. The flat one goes into the bottom and it goes towards the front here. They go into the same slot, and the one goes on top of it. And these just help those dampers sit a little bit more level when you have them in. Now I can pull my harness back over top. Careful not to over tighten the screws when you're putting them back on. You take a chance of breaking them. I'll start this side and then go to this side. Sometimes starting it with your fingers makes it a little bit easier. Got it started, then you can put the screwdriver behind there. Okay, and I can gently raise this up. I have to make sure to put the ribbon or the dampers for color. If you don't have the little white plastic ones that label it, the one towards the back of the machine starts off yellow. The very next one is light magenta. And be real careful as you're placing these down. The next one after light magenta is magenta. But on the bottom here, these are where it fits onto the actual print head itself. The little posts of the print head that stick up are pretty sharp. So if you angle these the wrong way, you can actually score them and actually create an air channel that basically will let air and not ink go through, because air is the least path of resistance. So you'll basically lose your prime as you're printing, and it'll just start blowing air. It makes your prints look like they're fading. All right, the next one is light cyan. And then cyan. You have light black and then black. Now when I say light cyan, light magenta, and light black, what I'm talking about is the white channels. But they do have to be in their specific spots, so that way your prints come out correctly. Alright, I make sure to push down on the back of the damper, so that way I know that they're seated correctly, kind of straight. I'll tuck the tubes back into the little guide slot right here, guide clip. And then make sure that the the lid here is level, and then I'll tighten these up kind of just thumb tight. So that way they stay in position. Then I'll verify that everything goes back and forth smoothly and doesn't buckle up. And that's how to replace the head drive belt, as well as take out the print head and take off the encoder strip. If you have any questions or issues with this, please don't hesitate to call to the 226 extension at Pentagrams. Thank you very much and have a great day.